video we talked about the difference between a snapshot and a photograph. And in that video I said that for me there are three things that separate the two. Today I want to focus on just one of them, and that is intent. Because long before composition, settings, or even light, intent is the moment when we decide why we're lifting the camera in the first place. Most snapshots happens on autopilot. Something catches our eye, we react, and we press the shutter. There's nothing wrong with that, but a photograph begins when we pause, even just for a second, and we ask ourselves one simple question. Why does this moment matter to me? So intent isn't about having a perfect plan. It's not about knowing exactly how the image will turn out, and it's definitely not about overthinking. Intent is simply awareness of what caught our intention before we press the shutter. So let's imagine we're walking down the street and we see an interesting scene. We could take a quick picture and just keep on walking, and that would be a snapshot. But if we stop and look a little longer and ask ourselves what drew us in, that is where intent begins. Maybe it's the light, maybe it's a gesture, maybe it's the contrast between two elements in the frame. The moment we recognize that our photograph already has some direction. One of the simplest ways to bring more intent into our photography is to slow down. Not by minutes, not even by 30 seconds. Sometimes just slowing down by a few breaths is enough. And that small pause creates space between what we see and what we choose to capture. So here's the simple exercise. Before you press the shutter, try to finish this sentence in your head. I'm taking this photo because. You don't need a poetic answer. It can be as simple as because the light feels calm, because this reminds me of home, because I don't want to forget this feeling. That answer is your intent. Another important thing to understand is that intent doesn't limit creativity. A lot of us worry that being intentional will make our work feel stiff or even predictable, but it's actually the opposite. Intent gives our creativity direction. It helps us decide what to include in the frame or what to leave out, and that clarity is often what separates a photograph from a snapshot. It's also worth saying that intent doesn't mean every photo has to be important. We don't need dramatic moments or special locations. Intent can exist in the most ordinary scenes. A quiet morning, a familiar street, or just a small passing detail. When we photograph with intention, even simple moments start to carry more weight. And sometimes our intent only becomes clear after the photo is taken, and that's okay too. What matters is that we were present, that we weren't just collecting images, but paying attention to what we saw and how it made us feel. If we start to making photographs instead of snapshots, we don't need a new camera and we don't need better locations. We just need to be a little bit more aware of why we're pressing the shutter. And that shift from a quick reaction to a conscious choice of what we're capturing is where photographs begin. So in the next video we will talk about planning, no rigid plans, no shot lists, just how a little thought beforehand can dramatically change what we come home with. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.